Hello. Let's get it.
Welcome
back. We're sitting here with Mr. Jon Burns, a.k.a. Centaur Noir. How are you, sir?
Hello. Good.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
But if you do not know, he is an artist and musician, and he has an upcoming debut, or what would you say?
Art show.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Where's that at?
It's at DeSoto Studio in Rock Island. It's 2324 3rd Avenue.
Hell yeah. Opening on the 2nd, right?
Yep, Friday, August 2nd from 6 to 9.
Hell yeah. Is it just free for those things?
Yeah, it's free, and we usually just have some snacks and beer and wine, and it's pretty casual kind of thing,
So are you going to get up there and you got to give a speech or something? Or?
Sometimes people give speeches, but I don't really think I'm going to.
Like, hey, thanks for coming. So just look at the walls. You'll see the stuff.
I've been to some where, the artists will get up and kind of give a whole speech about their method, and sometimes it gets pretty long-winded, where it's just all right.
Right.
Cool.
Is there, since I'm just hearing of this, is there going to be, is it just your work?
For this show, it's just my work. Yeah.
Nice.
DeSoto's, it's kind of a newer place. The first show they did was 3 months ago, but they're going to start doing more every month. I think is going to be kind of a new artist.
That's
and
cool.
then I think they might do some group shows at some point, but
that's awesome. So you got a good amount of work then, right?
Yeah, I've been working on a couple different series of works that I'm gonna display in different ways, kind of. So it's gonna be a combination of some prints and some drawings, and then some bigger sized paintings, and there's a bunch of different little stuff, kind of.
Nice.
Is everything for sale?
Yeah, most everything's gonna be for sale. I'm doing kind of one of the pieces is gonna be kind of this big installation of a series of portraits. It's from the Portraits for Choice series I've been doing, but it's just going to be a interactive sort of installation where I'm going to print out just black and white versions of it, and then have a bunch of markers and stuff sitting there so people can come in and color their own. So that I won't sell that, but everything else will kind of be for sale.
I gotta go do some coloring and shit.
Yeah, it should be fun. It's they're usually pretty relaxed kind of vibes, the art openings around here, so it's just people hanging out. And
nice. You got any soft music playing in the background?
Yeah, there'll be some soft music. Yeah, some different stuff. I think I might have somebody DJ, but I might just make a playlist and
just play your music too.
Play some
the full effect.
That might be kind of weird.
I was thinking about that. Yeah,
really? They don't have to know
the goal of this guy.
Hell yeah! And do you know how many pieces you got there?
Well, it's gonna be probably 5 or 6 large canvases, and then some smaller canvas pieces, and then a series of little framed drawing prints type things. So it's gonna be probably 30 or more pieces. Wow. So I'm kind of just trying to fill the whole area, so we'll see. I have if I can't fill it up, I have other pieces that I can bring in and put up too. So, but I'm trying to kind of have it be all new stuff. So
yeah, what is how far back do these pieces go?
Just this last year, even just the last 6 months, probably.
Cool.
Wow.
Cool.
A good deal of them, the last couple weeks,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I'm definitely kind of in that realm of sort of waiting till the last minute and then cramming a bunch of work in. But some of the paintings I've been working on are kind of this slow process of building up the colors and the stripes and textures and stuff. So I slowly sort of work on stuff, and as I'm working on other stuff and multitasking,
right.
because it's nice to I do music and art, so it's I can kind of go back and forth between different stuff, so I don't get too burnt out on any one thing.
Right.
Yeah. I feel
maybe when you hit a creative wave on one spectrum or one you know, on music maybe, and then the next week maybe you're on that. Because that sounds like a lot to, I mean, for, you said a year to 6 months? Or to...
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's about 6 months I've been working on most of the stuff that's, because the QC icons is a big part of it, which are just started as a sort of, the idea was to do a big mural type piece of like all these newer kind of famous people from the Quad Cities. Like a lot of it's like entertainment industry people, musicians and athletes, and just notable people from around here. The idea of doing like a big collage of them, but so I'm gonna have, you know, they're all single portraits that I did that the originals will be for sale, and then I'm going to do a big like a collage of them all that I'm working on, like a big painting, and then I'm going to put together like a coloring book of them too. And you know, a lot of the proceeds I'm going to donate to family resources in the Quad Cities. So
Nice.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so you drew in this one of it is the icons with all the famous people. Then weren't you doing something with like documenting like old signage or something too?
Yeah. Well, the other part of the, that's a photography series I've done, and I recently posted that album, reposted it on my Facebook. But that's from a couple years ago that I did. It's just you know, I walk around a lot and like, you know, take photos, like street photography sort of, you know, like, because, you know, like there's walking around places in a city is like you get the chance to, everything slows down. You get a chance to see a lot of things that you wouldn't notice if you were driving by, you know.
Right.
So I do a lot of photography like that where I'm just walking around kind of doing stuff. So I had that idea of doing like, you know, because I'm a big fan of like hand painted signs, like, you know, so like older sort of, you know, like sort of like hand painted window signs, you know, and just, you know, just local business signs and stuff like that, you know, like, you know, I always like remember being fond of certain ones growing up, you know, and like fond of like sort of the design of it. And so I started documenting them just because, you know, and since I've done it, a bunch of them have gotten replaced or torn down or whatever. So it's, I think it's just a cool kind of way to document a history of a city and neighborhoods, you know. So, but that's something I did a while ago. I'm working on. I've been collecting a bunch of photos of signs in Rock Island. So the next one's going to be signs Rock Island. But I've never shown any of those. They were just stuff that I posted online, and they're just kind of like archival photos. But the other half of the one other part of the show at DeSoto is Quad City Landmarks, which I'm doing like, those are some of the bigger paintings I'm doing, which they're going to be, you know, like I'm doing one at the courthouse, one of the old train depot that was down in Moline that they had moved it from somewhere to down right by the bridge, and then they had to tear it down recently because it was in the way of where they're building the new bridge. You know, so I'm doing that, and then I'm going to do one of kind of the bridge, the old I-74 bridge that eventually will be gone.
Nice. Yeah.
So, and that's just kind of just to pay an homage to, like, you know, important structures in the Quad Cities, kind of, you know.
That's cool as hell, yeah.
So I thought it kind of went hand in hand with the QC icons as far as sort of a documentation of Quad City history or whatever. You know?
Yeah. I like the old bridge, how it's green.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool bridge.
The new one's just white.
Yeah, the new one's kind of boring. We'll see.
It'll be nice, the lanes and shit, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I like they're gonna have pedestrian traffic on.
That'll be
so
awesome.
That's gonna be really
Oh, they
cool,
will?
Cause,
Yeah.
Nice, okay.
You know, because to ride your bike or walk over to Iowa, you gotta go. You know, if you're
All
from
the way
Moline,
down.
you gotta go clear over and kind of, you know, to get back around. So it'll be cool to be able to do that for sure.
Did you hear about how there was like like in the pillar of that bridge, there's like a underground, like those offices and rooms and shit?
Yeah, I saw that article. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they had an article on the newspaper with all the pictures where it was like a little like bunkhouse in there or something. Like.
Yeah, I think, like because of the workers and shit back when it used to be a toll bridge and stuff. They had the break room and offices and all that. And then I heard other people were like, in the past, trying to like do something with that space. Like someone wanted to like turn it into like a restaurant or something. That was accessible by boat or something weird. Like, I don't know. It'd be interesting. They probably shut him down real quick. Like, that's a little too out there.
Yeah.
Regulations.
He's at like a city meeting. He's like, "Stay with me now. Stay with me. This is my vision.
Hear me out.
We're gonna be able to bungee jump off the."
Yeah, right. I was thinking, what if they tear down the bridge but leave the pillar thing with the rooms and shit, and you could just buy that as turn it into your house, only accessible by boat.
Kind of rad unless like a barge fucking jammed into it.
That's sturdy. It'll take out the barge before it collapses, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. So, where did you get the name Centaur Noir?
You know, I just kind of think it started with the idea of noir, you know, just sort of, you know, the type of film and writing, you know, that dark sort of mysterious sort of, you know, old like detective sort of film noir and
Venetian blinds and shit.
yeah, and I just liked the way, and I don't know, I liked the way words work, so I thought it was like a cool kind of juxtaposition of words, you know. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, I was just kind of trying to, you know, it was one of like a list of probably like 100 different ideas, though, like, you know, you're just like writing in a notebook and trying to like figure out something that is Googleable. You know, you don't want a band name that's not Googleable.
Yeah.
You know, you want people to be able to type it in, and that's the only thing that comes up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I figured that was good. You know.
Yeah,
So.
definitely.
And I like old mythology and weird stuff like that. So. You know.
Hell yeah. How long have you been running with that name?
Quite a while now. The project started out as just acoustic songs I was writing back in, you know, probably like 2004. I was in a band called Methane Goats.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I sang in that band, but so we rented a house over in Davenport, right across the street from Greatest Cranes. And so I'd like, our drummer used to live there, and like with his wife, and they moved out, and the rent was so cheap that we just continued to rent there as a band with a couple other musician friends. And our drummer at the time had a recording studio in there, so it was kind of just this chill pad house party house that we called the Meth Lab, which was probably not the best name for a place that you're like partying all the time. But
I've wondered, where did Meth and Goats, that name, come from? I know it's older. But
you know, it was something that if I remember right, is our bass player Talbot came up with something he just like randomly said. It was one of those things where like you say, for some reason it came up in conversation, and somebody said a phrase, and you're like, that'd be a cool band name.
Yeah.
And we were like, that'd be a cool band name, and nobody had the foresight to be like, no, don't do that.
that's a pretty, that's like a staple band name in the Quad Cities. I mean, I've heard that since before I was even going to shows, like in high school and stuff. And I've actually worked with Talbot at Domino's for a while.
Oh, nice.
And he told me he was in that band. I was like, what?
Yeah. Talbot, I go way back with Talbot. You know, we went to high school together, and you know, I was telling Cody before we started, our 20-year high school reunion is tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, and Meth Goats had 2 different drummers, but all 5 of us were in the same graduating class at Moline. So we even before that band started, which was like right after high school, even before that, we were in bands together and stuff. And
Nice.
You know, we played together for years and toured around the country and got into all kinds of trouble. And but yeah, the name, you know, it just it at first was kind of like we caught a lot of flack, but then it just like kind of, you know, it's sort of, we realized that it was kind of a fitting name, being from the Midwest, you know, as we kind of went around the country, and you know, people like, you know, like when we told them we were from Iowa and Illinois, you know, it's like kind of was fitting, you know.
Right.
It's like that's what
Yeah.
people picture, you know. Like I remember we were in like Brooklyn or somewhere, and some guy's like, "So do you guys all like own shotguns and stuff?" And I was just like, "What? No. I mean, maybe,
Yeah,
you know."
QC population of like 500 people or something, small ass town.
Yeah, or you know, it's like we got to the point where, you know, we used to we had a lot of jam spaces in Iowa, and we played in Iowa a lot, and we're friends with a lot of people in Iowa. So we would say we're from Iowa because it was just easier than saying you're from Illinois, because then people were always like, "Oh, like Chicago," and we'd be like, "No, we're like on the other side of the state," and then they'd be like, "Oh, so like a suburb of Chicago?"
Yeah, right.
No. So, but then you say Iowa, and people, don't know much about that. They get. I found a lot of people get Idaho, Ohio, and Iowa mixed up, like what they are and where they are, but.
So with Centaur Noir, it's just you.
Yeah, there's been it's started off me on acoustic writing songs, but then I got into like doing sort of electronic music production, and
nice. Yeah.
We started renting at a place in Moline called Sound and Vision, which I was there for about 10 years. So I started learning to use Pro Tools, record on my own, like produce music and then track stuff. So I've had a lot of different people play on my music along the way, friends of mine. For a while, my friend Laura sang with me, and we made an album together and played a bunch of shows together, and getting ready to finish writing the new album that I'm doing, and I'm gonna have two gals that I'm friends with join me, doing vocals and harmonies and backup dancing. So we're gonna try and create this sort of big production kind of show,
like a good live performance.
But it's my friends Kara and Kristen. They play in the Have Your Cake cover band.
Okay,
that plays around here a lot. They play a lot of the sort of. They're friends with a lot of like the jam band kind of
Don and On
stuff.
type.
Yeah.
Which girl was on the last album you did? Is that
Laura Wegner.
Cool.
She's kind of a staple in the Quad City scene. She's going to school up in Iowa City now, but she sang in a band called Puddle Jumper.
I've heard them. I've heard the name.
Ended up changing to As You Were, and then changed to Toluca Lake right before they broke up.
Huh.
But they were kind of like a punk band, pop punk kind of stuff.
Nice.
Cool, yeah.
But she's super talented, when she came in and started, because I just had her come in to do like vocals on one song on an album, and then, we just worked really well together. She's really good at coming up with melodies and writing lyrics off of my lyrics. So then it was cool because our voices juxtaposed, contrasted really well, because she's got a really pretty voice, and then I get up there and just kind of go doo, 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 so it's like
that's awesome.
But like the contrast was good,
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. You're like open to like working and collaborating with people here and there. It makes for a more interesting like outcome, I feel like.
Yeah, it's it's different than a band dynamic, but it is cool to like, because a lot of what I would do is just have people come in and do like lead, like, hey, do a lead guitar part on this song, or do some backing vocals, which is cool too. Like, especially having people come in and do, like my early stuff. I had, my buddy Dennis and my buddy Ray that were both in Meth and Goats do like, and Chad that I've always rented with come in and do synth tracks or guitar tracks. And sometimes it's cool because then they do something that fills out a part that like is totally different style than so it's cool to collaborate with people for sure.
Yeah, it's a thing of beauty, that's for sure.
Hell yeah. Now, you said you started with like mainly like just doing like acoustic guitar songs, and then how long did it take until it formed into like getting into like the electronic poppy stuff?
Well, it was somewhat of a natural progression, because like I started, what I originally wanted to do was just like write like, and this is kind of how it started, was I do just like electronic drum beats, and then maybe like some minimal bass or synth, and then still write the acoustic songs over it. So it was a way to do like, I'm not the greatest guitar player, so it was a way to be able to, like do sort of still rhythm type guitar parts, and instead of like full on chord kind of like folky stuff, I was doing more rhythmic sort of riff and stuff, so I could do like put a beat down and write a song over it, and so then it just slowly progressed from there when I started getting different electronic production software, so then you just kind of travel down this rabbit hole of coming up with different ideas and trying to do different stuff, you know. I always kind of want to do something different, you know, and evolve in a way where it's like, you know, I think the common factor is like, you know, the song writing of the lyrics over the top, and so then, like, you know, so being able to do a variety of different styles is a great way to not get stuck in a rut, you know. It's instead of defining yourself as one certain thing, which I think, you know, like bands get caught up in that a lot, because like they'll write an album and be like, this is who we are, this is what we sound like, and then there's an expectation for that going forward, you know. But
oh, for sure, yeah, it boxes yourself in basically, and then you run out of the same thing that you've been doing. That's cool to hear, though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because sometimes you see bands that like, oh, you know, their early stuff's good. I like their early stuff, and they can't. You know, it's like, to me, as a musician, if like, you know, I think you should always be growing, and you should always be writing something you think is better than what you wrote before. You know?
Yeah.
And if you're not, then like, I mean, you know, still keep writing. You know, don't let anybody tell you what to do. But I think you should always be striving to do something different and cool. You know, or I don't know. You know.
Oh, for sure.
Now, how does your live performances go down? Like, what do you do live? Do you play just guitar?
You know, a lot lately, it's just kind of like, I just kind of MC and sing over the top of like produced music, you know.
Cool.
But, you know, here and there, I'd like to get back to doing some guitar and some live keyboards and stuff, and so yeah. But lately, yeah, it's just been kind of more sort of, yeah, vocals over the top of the beats and sort of putting on a show and
Hell yeah.
Nice.
dancing around like an idiot and stuff.
Okay, yeah,
you
so
know,
you're moving around and
Yeah,
stuff. All
yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
We
I
could
seen
call
that
you an
name.
alternative rapper or something.
It's you know, it is kind of like that, yeah, you know. It's like, you know, and I've heard some criticisms from people, you know, about my stuff, is that, you know, and you know, I'm my own biggest critic too, you know. It's like, yeah, I do feel like I could be doing more performance-wise, live-wise, but you know, it's you know, because people, you know, I'm always entertained by watching musicians actually play. You know, like when I watch a band, usually the drummer's my favorite thing to watch. You know, because, but yeah, I think if you're like putting on a show and it's entertaining and it's a performance, you know,
Right.
it works for Beyonce.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know,
It can work for you, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Now, when you are writing and recording, do you use keyboards, or is it all just like electronic and stuff?
yeah, mainly it's just like production within a computer, you know. But you know, so you know, you do kind of like I haven't really gotten into using like MIDI controllers very much. So mainly, I just do sort of, you know, I'll do some melody stuff, just like, you know, on the home row keyboard kind of style stuff. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it sounds really good. I'm stoked to hear the new album, too. Do you have a name yet for the new one?
no, not yet. But it's yeah, writing this album's been a little different because, you know, for 10 years I was at Sound and Vision, and I was there 2 days a week, like Tuesdays and Fridays. I was like, I'd go there all day, work on art and like video production stuff, and then work on music, and you know, so it was like a lot of the albums were kind of written piece by piece. But since I haven't had a place to record for the last year and a half, like I wrote all the music first, and then the last couple of months I've been like really like getting the songs in my head and sort of writing, because then I'll write the vocal melodies. I'll come up with an idea of a vocal melody before I come up with lyrics. So then it's like, then I slowly sort of kind of figure out what I want the song to be about. But so this approach has been a way where I've been able to kind of like make the songs all like sort of a concept album, but not really. But it's all kind of about cults and like, but like how they compare to, you know, normal human relationships and interactions. You know, like a lot of what gets people to fall into the trance of cults and leaders are just like, you know, the wanting to searching for something, wanting to fit in. You know, there are a variety of reasons that people get pulled into that I think are just human nature, you know, like, so that's kind of what, so it's like, sort of, it's like the songs are about different cults, but also like kind of just about human nature and even my own like personal feelings and relationships. So they're supposed to be like, you know, and I always kind of write lyrics like that where they're about something specific, but able to be interpreted in a universal sense, you know, sort of, which, you know, that's like some of my favorite lyrics are songs like that, where it's like, you know, that they're probably talking about something very specific, but it like means something to you.
Oh, yeah,
for
sure.
Like, or, you know, or whatever. So, but yeah, I've just been finishing up writing lyrics, and I'm renting a new jam space. So me and the guy I'm renting with, we're gonna get a recording set up, and so I can start tracking vocals and stuff, you know.
Now, do you prefer this approach that you're doing now, or is there even a preference?
Well, definitely, it's nice I would like to, you know, I wish I had a recording set up the whole time, because it's always nice to have the ability to just go and lay something down. Right. You know, because as opposed to, you know, like, the difference would be like, okay, you're in a band or you're a musician, you write all these songs and you get them ready, and then you go into somebody else's studio and pay for time. And that can be rough, because there's so much pressure to, like, you know, like, we only have this much time, so it's like kind of riddled with compromise. It can be, you know, and like, like just the pressure. So it's nice to have your own setup to just be able to take your time. And I mean, you know, and the opposite side of that is like, it can also lead to like hyper analyzing stuff and spending way too much time on something, you know, but like
almost making it worse.
Yeah, you finally get done mixing something, and you're like, I don't ever want to hear that again. Then you're like, oh, I have to go play these songs. But yeah, I definitely, you know, the dream would be to be able to have a space where I can go and record at any moment, you know, because then you're not, you know, even having a place a jam space that you're only there like once a week can be frustrating, because then there's a lot of pressure on that day. You know, you may not be feeling well, or, you know, you are hungover, or, you know, you have some other plans, and, you know, so I'm looking forward to having somewhere where I can have some decent access to, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you seem like a guy that would definitely want to have like a home studio set up, and definitely benefit from that for sure. You think you'd ever have like a recording studio where you'd have other people come in to record other people's stuff? Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of the plan with what me and Lars, his name's Lars Renberg, that I'm renting with now. It's Kara's husband that is going to join the band. He's also in the Cake cover band, but he's this dude that's played in bands for a long time, and he's real busy right now, because he does like, I don't even know exactly what he does, but he goes to music festivals. They hire him in to like come in, and I think he does like sets up Wi-Fi for like music festivals.
Oh shit!
So he's been like busy, but he's like a AV geek, sort of audio visual, you know, is into recording bands and has a lot of gear and
nice.
Cool. You know, so he's real cool dude. So I'm excited to build something with him. But so, you know, we wouldn't, I don't know if we're gonna, mainly it's just gonna be to record ourselves, but you'll probably do stuff for people that need to do like simple overdub type stuff. You know, just whatever. We'll see.
Hell yeah. Maybe bring in some of your friends if someone needs like session musicians or some shit.
You know, stuff like that, definitely. You know, where we're located is going to be right by another recording studio. I don't know if you've heard Future Apple Tree.
Yes.
It's Pat Stolly's studio that it's all analog, sort of like really nice. The guy's got, you know, he's been around for a while, just like collecting gear. So he has like a wall of just like every synthesizer, you know, and just like tons of microphones and amps, and, you know, so you know, we would be more just kind of a smaller place to do little home project stuff. But
yeah. You know, I never considered Wi-Fi at a music festival before.
Well, yeah, when you said that, I was like, that's very particular, like very specific job.
I think that's what he does.
Like for like an outdoor fest or something?
Well, just for like the whole crew and for like the bands and for everything, I think, from what I gather. So he's just like setting up like Wi-Fi networks for like, I don't know. I think it's something like that. I could be totally wrong.
I saw them at the, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe. No, more than 2. Some years ago, I seen them at the Dawn and On Festival, and they fucking sounded just like Cake.
Okay.
I was like, holy shit, man.
You love Cake, don't you?
Yeah, I like them. I wouldn't say I'm a diehard fan. I don't know any of the guys' names in that band, but yeah, that's awesome.
I like the band. I like the food.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, if we're talking the food, I mean, obviously.
Hell yeah.
No, yeah, and they do some other covers too and stuff, so they keep it pretty entertaining for sure.
Nice.
We are talking the Cake cover band, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure it wasn't.
Have Your Cake.
Okay,
I believe.
Yes.
is the official name.
Now going back, like what first got you like into music and everything? Were you very young?
Yeah, pretty young. My dad was really into music. He was the kind of guy that had like the full stereo stand set up with like 1/4-inch cables, and like my dad used to do this thing where he may have been like one of the first guys to make mixtapes, because like my dad he'd record the radio onto tapes, then he'd go back and take out all the commercials and all the songs he didn't like and redub onto the second tape deck just the songs he wanted to hear. And he had like 100 tapes of just like classic rock songs and stuff like so I mean that definitely got me into liking music. I remember listening to classic rock stuff, and then getting into in junior high probably was like when I started getting into like classic rock, and also like alternative stuff like Nirvana, 9 Inch Nails, and Pearl Jam, bands like that, and then we just had so our group of friends, we had older brothers that and friends' older brothers that were in bands and stuff. So that's in junior high, we first started going to punk shows. First show I went to was at a place called Smile Coffee House. It was over in Davenport, at downtown Davenport, and it was like, it was a place that a lot of cool bands played, and it was kind of like Roztalks way before Roztalks. It was like a just sort of dark coffee shop that had punk bands playing in the corner. And my friend Cody, his older brother, was in a band called Crosscheck, and I went and saw them play. And then, was just immediately hooked, because I was into bands already and had gone to some bigger concerts, but like to go see a band where you're like 5 feet away from them, and then like they start playing, and then like all of a sudden somebody shoves you against the wall. And you're just like,
it's an immersive experience.
So from there, just some of my friends started bands, and first band I played in was called Tri-Lambs. I played bass, and like Nick, my buddy, sang and played guitar, and he just showed me how to play bass. Basically, it was like, here, play this, so that was my beginning of playing instruments. And then, then we formed Meth and Goats just right after high school. I rented jam spaces from like when I was like 17, like we weren't even 18 yet, and we were like renting rooms in like these like old office buildings and stuff. And like the first space we ever rented was in the building right across from the fountain down on 5th Avenue in Moline.
Yeah.
It's like above where the University Club is now. But that whole building's pretty much empty. But at the time there was like 4 different sort of, there's like 5 floors, and there was like kind of like, there was like an architect in one of the office rooms, and then like some other business. But after 5 o'clock, they all left, and there was like a couple bands that rented there, and we just had the run of the place like all night long. So we would just jam and be loud all night long and write music. And so then we bounced around to a couple different jam spaces after that. But yes, I mean, that's, I used to book shows a bunch back in the day when, we're lucky nowadays that there's as many venues as there are, because back then we had to like find a reception hall that would, we'd have to pay $200 to rent this hall, $100 for some guy some old school dude that we knew that had a PA to come, and and so nowadays it's a lot easier. But yeah, so definitely came from that sort of DIY punk sort of booking shows and just getting crazy,
Hell yeah. How old were you then, and what year was that when you first picked up the bass?
I would have been, maybe it was like the summer before my junior year, I think. So, I was like 17,
Yeah.
And the first show we ever played, Tri-Lambs, was at the Kanga, which is this, at the time, was this space in downtown Davenport. It's right up and to the right of Boozy's. It's like on the second floor between Boozy's and where Analog is now.
Okay, yeah.
And I think there's still like an artist that rents the studio space up there, maybe, but it was like this collective of it was older dudes like Tripmaster Monkey and Multiple Cat, kind of Pat, and his friends rented this space that was a sort of it was like a mixed use sort of art studio jam space where they would do music and also have art shows. But so that was the first gig I ever played was at that building. And we ended up later on, Meth and Goats ended up renting there after those dudes that ran it as the Kanga moved out. We looked into it and we rented on the second floor for a year or two, and we got kicked out. And then we had one of our other members approach the lady that rented the place, pretending like we weren't the same people. And then we rented the third floor for a while.
Wow.
And got kicked out of there.
Why'd they kick you out?
That's a good question. I'm kind of wondering now,
I think there's still some mystery surrounding it, because I think when we got kicked out of the second floor, we just moved out because I think we started jamming at somebody's house or something. But the third floor, we officially got kicked out. And I just remember the landlord lady kind of being like, "That's your third strike," and we were just kind of like, what was 1 and 2? But we were just loud and crazy. So I think Boozy's complained maybe, because at the time we also had this black metal band that rented with us, and they practiced in the space that was closest to Boozy's, and they would practice kind of early in the evening. So that might have had something to do with it.
It wasn't us, I swear.
Probably not the exact time that Boozy's is popping off, and that would drown out the noise.
Yeah, they're trying to do karaoke and they just hear.
Yeah, right.
And I think we were late on rent a couple times, and there must have been some other stuff, but it's kind of funny. When we rented on the second floor, there was this window that somebody had sprayed a bunch of Halloween sort of decorative foam stuff or whatever, and I drew these circles in it, so it's you see just this grayed window with these circles, and it's still there. This is 15 years ago, and I'm nobody's washed that window that long. And that that space was really cool renting there, because it was just it was back when there wasn't much going on in downtown Davenport, so it was sort of just a ghost town. And it's kind of cool because where we rented looked over 3rd Street, so it was just traffic going by, and you're sort of in your own world, though,
Yeah.
creating music and stuff.
What made the transition from being in Moline to Davenport just cheap or whatever?
Yeah, I think it was just
more availability for rental space or whatever.
It was kind of a pain in the butt driving over there all the time, but it was just, yeah, you had to find the space, and you wanted it cheap, because you had to find somebody that was willing to rent to younger kids that were musicians.
Right.
And you had to find somewhere that was cheap enough, because some places you'd find and they'd be like, yeah, rent's $1,000, and you'd be like, well, you mean for the whole year?
Yeah.
So I think Davenport, being at the Kanga, I think it was because we had known of that building, and we were just I wonder if they would rent to somebody, So I think I did the research and found out who owned the building, and then called the realtor agency or whatever and found out, and it was like really cheap, you know. I think it was like 300 something for like when we rented the third floor, and it was basically like just a huge space, you know. So.
Wow, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You said earlier, you were mentioning you and the guy from Have Your Cake, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said your place is going to be next to another recording. Are you guys setting up like a, or is it just like a personal, just you guys are going to use it, or is this gonna be
it's mainly just going to be sort of like kind of a home studio, but
Nice,
like in a
yeah.
jam space.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know. We haven't, once stuff dies down for him work-wise this summer, we'll get into doing some stuff. But yeah, so we'll see. You know, it's still kind of up in the air what, you know, and I'm kind of renting from him, so it's sort of, I'm just going to kind of follow his lead on what he wants to do with the space, you know. But I think it's something where he's wanted to kind of, it's, you know, it's set up, it's 2 rooms with a window in the middle, so it's sort of, it's set up to have a control room and a live room.
Cool.
And it's actually it's in the same building as I work at the new Ragged Records in Rock Island. So it's in that same building. Pat's studio's on the first floor, and the record store's on the second floor, and then in one corner of the building's the jam space. So
Nice.
How do you like working at the store?
it's cool. You know, I work with Dennis, who was in Meth and Goats, who, you know, I've been friends with since junior high, really. You know, we were in the same homeroom in 7th grade. Mr. Bruner, rest in peace. You know, he was a great teacher. Yeah, Dennis worked at the Davenport location, and then I was doing graphic design for Bob, the owner. And, you know, when Pat moved his studio from the second floor down to the first floor, that space came open, because where we're at used to be Pat's studio. So, you know, Bob's just like, hey, I should expand, you know, and, you know, because he's got probably enough records for like 4 stores.
Wow.
So, you know, so yeah, you know, so me and Dennis worked there, and, you know, we both kind of co-managed the place. And so it's cool, you know, because we get to hang out all day and just work on records. And
Yeah, and like the main, I mean, I guess you call it theme of your work is music. I mean, essentially, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be kind of get the creative juices going. It can inspire you sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's cool to work with music and you know, provide music to people that love music. And, you know, yeah, I always had fond memories of going to record stores when I was younger and digging through bins for, you know, finding some, you know, back in the day when you couldn't just listen to it on Spotify or whatever, you had to like see a cover of an album and be like, take a chance on it.
Yeah.
So, and I think, you know, some of the younger kids and even older people that we get to come in, you kind of get that vibe. Sometimes people will be like, you know, because we have like a bunch of like cheap $2 records that are just like random stuff, and you'll see people come in and be like, you know, oh, this looks cool, I'm gonna give it a shot. You know? So it's, you know, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like a kind of like a rarity nowadays. Sometimes, like finding actual record stores. It's good that we still have.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, we got Ragged and Co-op, and I don't know what else there is around here.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
You know, Bob owns the place. He's been in the record biz for some years. He used to work for Co-op and do like, because back in the day, Co-op was like this huge kind of franchised record store. They were all over the Midwest.
Yeah.
And like, so he started off working where he'd go and set up stores, and he was kind of like the guy that went and set up stores. And then he settled into working at one that was in Peoria for some amount of years. Then eventually just he moved back he's from the Quad Cities, so he moved back, and that's when he started Ragged Records, you know. So
that's pretty damn cool. Sorry,
Yeah.
I mean, like, have Ragged Records for one just sounds like an awesome fucking name. You know?
Yeah, they killed it with the name.
Going back to, are you currently, like, do you have any shows coming up while you're working on your next project with Centaur Noir?
Yeah, we just announced it today, actually. I'm doing a collaborative set with Dennis, who was in Meth and Goats that I work with at the record store. He does a project called Id Pyramid.
Okay.
And,
Okay, yeah, I've heard that name.
So he does, and he does a lot of like sort of, it's like electronic, sort of experimental electronic music that he does like a lot of like on the fly, sort of like a sampler and like a drum machine and sort of
Nice.
a synth. So he does like different types of sets. He's kind of evolved as a project himself. But yeah, we just practiced for the first time last night, actually, we're kind of just going to write a set together where he's going to do most of the music and I'm just going to accompany him on vocals. So we did an album together back a long time ago, so it's kind of a continuation of that, but we call it Id Noir. So it's just like a combination of the two names.
And even that name sounds that's like catchy.
But yeah, so we're playing at Roztalks at the end of August.
Cool.
With this band that Dennis is friends with from Detroit that's going to come. They call it Deadbeat Beat. Like Deadbeat Beat.
Nice.
Cool.
But they're like kind of like cool garage rocky sort of like, but like with kind of a punk sort of indie thing going on. So
Nice. Now, so your first intro to like instruments was like bass. What came after that?
yeah, like I said, I bought it. Around the same time that I started playing bass, I bought an acoustic guitar. Kind of was learning, building my chops up playing bass, but then also I kind of just like trying to learn to play guitar on the side, like just like learning bar chords and,
Right.
doing other chords and just trying to sort of figure out, the instrument, so it's kind of that. And then, and even just, being around other musicians and being in jam spaces, there was always kind of a drum kit around or a keyboard around. So it's like you sort of pick up some of that stuff too. But, I'm like good enough to mess around on a lot of instruments, but like
Right.
I just kind of suck mostly at instruments, but like I've just tried to learn to manipulate them enough to like write songs that I can sing over, sort of, like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been the progression of Centaur Noir. Even as like started with acoustic, but then I like started doing, electronic production. So it's just kind of the end result is just like finding something I can write a song over. So
Does your lyrical content have a running theme throughout the things that you put out with Centaur Noir? Or is it just kind of
yeah,
different?
it's sort of like, there's different stuff, like socio-political sort of stuff, but like mixed with like, sort of heartache love song kind of stuff too, because
Nice.
that's obviously stuff that we, artists, musicians like to write about, it's relatable, but it's a lot of it's kind of like, it's some of it's sort of tongue in cheek. So it's like, it's like some of it's pretty serious, but then like, you might team up a serious line with something that's like kind of a little more silly and sort of, I like telling a story with a song sort of, or yeah, so it all depends. Sometimes, early on doing like punk vocals was like a little different because you're just like screaming and like, so a lot of them are sort of like short sort of bursts of different ideas sort of,
Right.
but yeah, even early on, like with Meth and Goats, I enjoyed sort of, telling a story sort of, and trying to find an interesting way to say something about something, I guess.
Yeah. I find myself, especially lately, I'm like dry when it comes to like, I'm just in a dry spell when lyrically, like creatively, but lyrically mostly. I find it comes in waves. It sounded like to me, like with your art, at least, it sounded like you was in a really big wave, at least this past 6 months or so that you said you've been putting out you said almost 30 or so pieces of work.
Yeah, well, I've been doing a lot of these portraits. So it's the Quad City Icons that I've done about 30 of. Then I've been doing this Portraits for Choice thing, which I'm at like 68 or something of them at this point.
Wow.
Like, and I had to cut off the submissions at like 100, but they're portraits of friends that I know, and it's I'm donating 100% of all the money I make off of it to the Missouri chapter of that NARAL. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
I've seen your poster.
it's the National Association for the Repeal of Abortion Laws. So it's the Missouri chapter of that. You know, the organization does a lot more than just, you know, abortions. It's all about, you know, good reproductive sort of health for women in Missouri, because it's really, you know, Missouri, you know, a lot of those other states that are down south, it's like, you know, not to talk bad about the South, but you're more kind of, you know, they're more Bible Belt, but like Missouri is like pretty, you know, I mean, it neighbors our state, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So that whole idea came about just because I had already wanted to do like portraits of like a lot of my friends and people in the community, and like, but you can't just be like, hey, I want to do your portrait, like pay me to do it, you know? So it's like, instead I had this idea of like, you know, like, cause you know, when all that abortion stuff, laws against women's rights, you know, I mean, it's a human rights issue, women's rights issue. And, you know, when all that stuff came about, I saw a lot of people posting on social media saying like, disappointed at that men and other people weren't standing up more vocally about it, you know. And I kind of got to thinking, it's like, well, you know, yeah, I can share an article or post something here and there, but, you know, I'm really only friends on Facebook with like people that already think the same way as me.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, it's like even my family members are all like on board, so I don't have like that crazy racist uncle or something.
right.
Like my family's all pretty liberal too, so it's like, you know, so I thought like, what can I do to actually make some type of change, you know? So it's like, so it ended up being real cool. Like all these people have been, you know, it's kind of overwhelming how much I've been having to work on it, but it's cool. Like, you know, it's $20 for a portrait, and I just kind of, I do the black and white by hand, and then scan it in, and then do like a digital collage to color them in. And they're only digital. Like I haven't been printing them out for people. So you pay $20 and you get a, you know, profile picture or whatever. So it's, you know, we're going to end up raising like more than $2,000 probably in the end, or maybe even more. So
that's awesome.
You know, and I've been getting into doing a lot more of that lately with art, which is, you know, donating to charities. Like, you know, I did this Rad Women of Music series last year that I also did a coloring book of, which is just similar sort of portraits of like cool lady rockers, you know. And I did a coloring book and some prints, and donated money from that to this organization, Girls Rock Iowa City, which is it's like a girls summer camp where they teach young women and other non-binary adolescent preteens kind of to play different instruments and learn how to write songs.
That's rad.
And like, so it's this cool kind of rock camp for kids, you know. And so I donated money to that. I've donated to family resources and stuff. It's just something I've been liking doing, because, you know, it gives more meaning to creating art when you can help people, because I think that's the goal, like as musicians and artists, like, to like open people's minds, help people, you know. So
I was just about to say that I feel like that's like almost every artist's you know, ambition is to make some sort of difference or some sort of significant contribution to something. Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, that's you know, it's I forget what you're asking. So yeah, I've been working on that, you know, but at the same time, I've been, like I said, writing lyrics for the new Centaur Noir album. So it's, you know, like I said, it's good. I like to multitask and sort of work on something and then take a break and work on something else. And, you know, so
keeps you busy, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, definitely, you know.
I seen a couple of pieces that you did. I added you today, obviously. But I seen one of the portrait ones. It was like a couple or two people at least. And then I seen the cassette ones, and that was pretty cool. I mean, was that like requested or something, or is that?
Those mixtape, I call them mixtape
mixtapes,
paintings, but
yeah,
they're
that's right.
sort of these anthropomorphic cassette tapes with eyeballs in the real parts of the cassette tapes. But I've been doing those since back at the Sound of Vision days. So
Okay.
it's something that I started doing them, and then like people liked them, so I kept doing them. But I've done the ones that I'm gonna have. The 3 that I just made are number 49, 50, and 51. So I've done over 50 of these paintings, and most of them are like small to medium sized canvases that I've done. So yeah,
it's very. I'm gonna make up a word here. Wallable. Like if I seen that, at like a showing or like some sort of what'd you say, is that DeSoto?
DeSoto, yeah.
Yeah. Like if I seen something like that, I'd be like, oh yeah, I want to get something like that.
Yeah.
Put it up on the wall, put it up in the room or something. It's very nice, visually pleasing.
It's like, it's kind of like an ongoing series, and like, if I do like an art show and I don't have any of them, people are like, oh, I wanted to get one of those mixtape ones, so I just keep making them kind of.
Just got some stuff. Well, I got one here for you if you want it.
Yeah.
What's your medium that you usually paint in?
I use
Drawing.
acrylics mostly, but I do a lot of drawing on top of paintings and painting on top of drawings.
Mm-hmm.
So like I might start something with a drawing and then I paint in the color, but then I also do like paintings where then I draw on top of them. So it's acrylics and marker and different, pretty much that, marker and painting.
Hell yeah. And you said for those ones that you were doing for friends, like for like profile pictures and shit, where you did it digitally.
Yeah.
When you did the black and white, is that like just acrylic black and white? Or like...
No, just pen and ink.
Okay.
Just so that's like, they're like kind of just contour line drawings.
Mm.
So then it just, you scan it in and then just I fill in the skin tone and the backgrounds with different sort of collage stuff that I've found online. Like a lot of it's like I'll find these different blogs that just sort of have scanned in print media. So like scans of old like magazine articles and advertisements and just other random sort of pop culture kind of stuff from the 70s, 60s, 70s, or 80s that I try not to like use anything that's like too much somebody else's art,
Right.
Or whatever. But I mean, for this project I've been a little more lenient on using different stuff for backgrounds because I'm cutting it up and cut and pasting in Photoshop and using it as different parts of different backgrounds and stuff. So it's plus I'm not profiting from it, so it's just kind of a cool little pop art kind of thing. So I like it because it's sort of it's collage, but it's like a digital collage where I'm using a lot of elements that at one point were actually pages from a magazine. So it's kind of similar to like how you would normally make a collage, sort of, but all done digitally.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Now, do you use like a tablet or anything to draw or paint, color in, or is it like all just like within Photoshop and stuff?
I do. I don't. I've never really gotten into drawing on a tablet, so I just draw by hand, kind of, and I use like a light table.
Okay.
So some of them, a lot of these new portraits are sort of loose. They're like tracings on a light table, but I sort of, it's like you take so I'll print out a picture of somebody and then use so I'm sort of doing this, taking an actual picture and forming sort of a contour line drawing off of it, where you kind of use it as a guideline, but you have to kind of like simplify certain things to do like certain lines in the hair and different stuff like that. So
it's very cool. Now, do you think you would want to get into like using the stylus and digitally drawing or painting, or do you prefer like the physical medium of painting and drawing?
Yeah, I mean, if I had something like that, I would try it and I would use it. I think, as an artist or a musician, you use whatever tools you have in your arsenal to create whatever you want. So it's similar to music. It's like, you can write songs on a guitar, but you can also make a beat digitally and write some synth lines on it. So it's, I think it's just, the goal is to just come up with something cool and new and fresh regardless of how you're doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I see some of the stuff people can come up with on this, like on those tablets, and it is pretty awesome, you know.
Yeah.
I do think there's like a, well, I hate to say realness but you know, a more, I don't know what word I'm looking for, a more blank with, I like how you're describing it, you know, it's half, or it's part, it might be part digital, and then part physical, you know, like.
Yeah, definitely. You know,
That's pretty neat.
You know, like I said, you know, I document those signs around Moline, and a lot of that, what I like about it is the handmade stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it has that rough handmade quality to it. So, same with art. You know, I make a lot of I've made a lot of like posters and flyer designs over the years. You know, it's
Right.
like where when you first started out, everything was hand drawn,
Mm-hmm.
cut and pasted at Kinko's. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right.
And then like, you know, you get into like now a lot of people just do like even me, I would do a lot of just digital design. But then it's like you end up getting kind of sick of that, and then you kind of want to hop back to doing some hand drawn stuff. And so I've been doing a lot. I like the idea of mixing the two, you know, because there is definitely a cool quality to sort of the rough aesthetic of hand drawn stuff that,
right.
you know. So same with music, you know, like you know, it's cool to do electronic music, but you can make it sound a lot cooler if you drop in some analog elements,
Right,
like, you know,
yeah.
put some real bass guitar on some stuff,
Yeah.
like, or, you know, put some electric guitar over the top of stuff, you know. So I like the idea of using all the technological capabilities you have, all the tools in your arsenal, but also, you know, knowing when to do it by hand. You know?
Oh, yeah,
like
for
mix
sure.
the two together, you know, keep that human element involved. And
Have you
things.
ever considered yourself like a Renaissance man of sorts? I mean, you got your toes in a couple different pools here, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like creative stuff though. So it's, you know, I mean, yeah, within the realm of creating stuff, I do a lot of stuff like graphic design, photography, video editing, you know, and then music, fine art, you know, but it's all kind of in that same realm. So, you know, it's like I'm not like inventing the helicopter like Leonardo da Vinci or something.
Right,
so,
right,
you know, or whatever.
Well, I don't mean in that
you know.
sense the Renaissance. No.
I like to cook too, you know. So that's to me, that's creative too. Is like very
for sure.
similar thing. You're taking different elements, manipulating them, and creating something new with them that's visually appealing. You know.
I did see on your some of your posts a lot of the dishes you were creating.
I'd be cooking.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Man.
I'm like sitting there at work. God damn it, I'm so fucking hungry, man. I seen the pico too.
We're gonna have to do a Mob Vision cooking with Centaur Noir or something.
You know, I was
A
just gonna
cooking
say you
show
should
would be
start.
fun.
Yeah, like are you vegetarian?
Yeah, I've been vegetarian for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Are you vegan or
No, I'd be eating that cheese.
that cheese?
I'd be on that cheese. You know, I've been trying to like get off of drinking milk, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or milk products, you know, because I like almond milk's awesome. You know, it's like
Yeah, dude. I fuck
might
with
as
that
well just
coconut
drink
milk
that.
too.
Yeah, coconut milk's
It's
awesome.
great.
You know, there's a lot of alternatives out there that, you know, you don't have to be dependent on.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I went vegetarian mainly just for like health reasons, just to kind of feel better. So I'm not like, you know. But even then, you know, it's like it's like you go vegetarian, but then it's like I'm just eating like eggs, cheese, and potatoes, and like, just like still, just, you know. So
I was thinking about that today actually at work. I just got my wisdom teeth out. I know, unrelated, but they told me take ibuprofen, make sure it's in your system for 48 hours. And for some reason, the last couple of days, while I've been taking ibuprofen, I've had this like rounded pain, not a sharp pain, in my chest. I didn't think it was the ibuprofen. I'm like, man, dude, maybe I've just been eating cheeseburgers for too long. And I'm like, I wonder how my body would react if I changed up my diet and got like actual real nutrients instead of eating all this processed stuff. And I feel like that's a good way to stay away from the processed stuff is or a good out of many, I'm sure. But a lot of the dishes I seen that you were cooking up, I'm like, that looks really good, and it's not.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to switch up your, if you're having if you're feeling sluggish after eating, I mean, and there's, quitting eating meat and animal products isn't the only thing you can do, a lot of you have a lot of food high in acids and stuff, that I had a problem with that too, where it was just sort of acid reflux kind of stuff going on.
Same here.
I think that's your problem. Yeah, you've had heartburn since you're 2 years old.
Tell me what my problem is, please.
Well, I was pretty rough for a while there too, when I was drinking energy drinks and
for sure.
Spicy food. I love spicy food.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
I hate to keep crossing back and forth here, but with your artwork, how long have you been making, producing artwork? Aside from music, obviously.
Well, I took some art classes in high school. I went to Blackhawk College for art, so I took art classes there, and started showing in galleries. I had a small gallery show while I was at Blackhawk in this little nook that they would do little showings, and from there I've done, I when Bucktown first opened, I rented there for a little while and worked there while the gallery was open and created art there and had art up for better part of a year. And nice. I've been at the Artery in Rock Island for the past year and a half or so I'm there. And when we were at Sound and Vision down in Moline for a while, we did a handful of art shows there, because it was this space where we had this big storefront, big window storefront that was closed off from the back where we would jam and stuff. So I always had art up there. Nice. And it was that building was right on 4th Avenue, so it's kind of a major thoroughfare, people walking by or driving by. But I've always, I started drawing, in grade school, and always I wanted to be an artist when I was in 3rd grade.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I used to carry around a binder with my drawings in plastic, in this binder. And back then I drew, it's Ricky Henderson, Bo Jackson. I'd draw sports stars and logos of sports teams, and
that's awesome. Were you ever into professional wrestling or WWE? I feel like that was kind of
a lot of my friends were into that stuff, but I was when I was younger. But then a lot of my friends got into that stuff in high school, and
you just kind of passed it at that point.
Yeah, it kind of got to the point where I was just same with video games. I was into video games, but then once I started making art and music, it's there's no time for that stuff. It's I have other stuff to do. I'm big into films and movies and TV shows, so that's what I do to unwind. Is I just chill on the couch.
For sure.
Maybe because even then it's sometimes I still got my laptop and I'm working on something, or whatever. But yeah, never really got big into the wrestling. I appreciate it for what it is, and
right.
For sure liked some of those characters when I was younger, and liked sort of the theatrical nature of it all, and it's pretty cool that right now we got that Seth Rollins dude,
right, yeah. For sure.
I don't know, is he still the heavyweight champion?
I don't know
what
if
they call
he
it, the WWE champion or whatever.
He comes into my work all the time. Not all the time, but here and there. And
yeah,
that's the only reason I know him.
Would he be the champion if he's still coming into Poncheros? And
I think he still got the belt.
He's just from around here, so
they let you go back to your hometown or something? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought they maybe keep you up in a...
No.
And he's in the portrait series, right?
Yeah, I did one of him, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw him on the 4th of July at Wake Brewing. They did this Independence Day thing where they had a big stage set up in the parking lot, and they had a bunch of doom metal bands play, and
that's
and they had Barley and Rye was making burgers out in the parking lot and stuff, and he comes rolling in with
nice
3 or 4 other people that totally were it's two other dudes and a gal, and like they were all pretty buff. Like you could
No
tell
shit,
they
yeah.
you could tell they just came from like training somewhere.
Right.
Because like kind of in sweats, looking like sort of glistening, you know. Get their burger, sit down, watch some of the bands, and then they left after a little while. But it was kind of cool seeing.
That's
them,
awesome.
you know.
Yeah.
Do you tell these people that you're doing their portraits?
I don't think, you know, most of them are like people
Invite them
that,
to the showing?
most of them are people that I think, you know, that aren't around here, you know. But I know, like, I did one of Margot Price, she's from Aledo. She moved down to Nashville. She's a country singer. Yeah, I think she was nominated for a Grammy last year. I think Best New Artist, maybe.
Wow.
Pretty sure, yeah. You know, but she does kind of like an old school country throwback sort of twangy country thing. It's really cool. And I'm friends with her cousin, and he texted her the version of the portrait I did of her, and I think she was just like, "Oh, cool," you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's an honor for her maybe to like have people to know that people in her hometown appreciate her, and
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely
appreciate what she does. Is you know.
Are you? Is this something that hasn't been revealed yet, or do you want to? Could you list off who from around here is within that collage?
Well, I posted a little video of like the sort of big size mural I'm doing of it, but I have, as I was doing them, I was posting them on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff. So I think there's around 30 of them out there I did. So it's.
Was that all going to be in the collage together?
I think that, well, the big mural size painting that I'm doing of them all, there's 27 of them.
Wow.
So it's a lot of different ones. But yeah, as I was posting them on Instagram, I would kind of like do a little 2-paragraph write-up of like where they're from, the Quad Cities, what they're kind of famous for, little tidbits about, you know, basically just read their Wikipedia page and sort of write my own little concise sort of thing. And I'm going to use that for the coloring book that I'm going to make. It's going to have like a little like description of everybody. But, you know, and while doing the series, you know, I had a lot of people say like, you know, oh, I didn't know they were from here. Or I had a lot of people be like, hey, have you heard of this person that's from here? You know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's really
So
cool.
it turned me on to people that I didn't know. Didn't know were from the Quad Cities, and or just didn't know that who they were, that they even existed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you keep finding out more people, you're going to have like series part 2, part 3 as it goes along.
Yeah.
You've been over on this side of the river mainly?
Yeah, Moline.
Okay. I was going to say, I didn't know if you had moved back and forth. You start doing Davenport, or are you doing the area completely, like the Quad Cities?
Yeah, Quad Cities, and you know,
gotcha.
mainly, you know, not too far out of the Quad Cities, but you know, like Aledo, you know, is pretty fringe, sort of where Margot Price is from, and also Susie Bogus. Is it Bogus?
I don't know.
It's Bogguss. I think it's just Susie Bogus.
Or Bogus.
But she was a country star like in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. But she gained some success definitely on the country charts, and she, you know, she was on a major label, I'm pretty sure, and everything. But I can't remember what her hit was, but like. I did one of her, you know.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's really cool. It's almost like paying, what is it, homage? Is that how you say it? To significant local beings.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I've always had kind of a fondness for sort of like the history of the Quad Cities, you know, and you know, I've lived here all my life, and you know, I've traveled around the country some, and you know, like, you know, because as a young artist, musician, or whatever, you know, you're definitely compelled to sort of like, why don't you move to Chicago? Why don't you move to New York, California? You know, but I've always kind of, you know, I traveled around with Meth and Goats for years, and so I was able to see places. But I like being where I'm from, being around my family, and you know, I think like there's something to say about, you know, being happy where you're at, and I like the idea of being from the Quad Cities, and I'm from the Quad Cities, you know. It's like I don't have to run to some other place to feel like I'm doing something important, but or whatever. I don't know. And there's something to say about living in a more small town area. It's more affordable for artists and musicians to rent spaces and have time to. I've known some people that have tried as artists or musicians to move to places like LA or New York, and it can be hard because you have to work, so much to pay for rent, and it leaves you a lot less creative energy for creating and stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say it probably has like a good effect on your music and artwork. As you said, not like uprooting and going somewhere else and being in a foreign state, or
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool to to move and live somewhere different, and it all depends. Different strokes for different folks, I guess. I have some friends that just moved away and just like, I hate the Quad Cities. There's a lot more stuff to do around here. Just in the last 10 years, what they've been doing over in Davenport and Rock Island, having, like I said, when I first started going to shows, we had to rent a reception hall to like even be able to play. And like now there's multiple music venues. I mean, we have 2 arcade bars, a great art gallery, a couple different great museums, and it's getting to the point where the Quad Cities has pretty much everything that a bigger city has, as far as like there's a lot more stuff to do nowadays than when I was first coming up, or even when you guys were first coming up.
For sure.
Most definitely.
It's been I think the only thing we really need around here is like a cool indie movie theater would be cool.
That would be rad. There's a spot.
We used to have one back in the day.
Oh, really?
There's a place called Bruinview.
Okay.
That was in Rock Island, where they would do indie movies and have bands play too, and do like Big Lebowski nights.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Indie movies. So
I remember going there with my dad when I was younger. It was like packed, and they were just playing like some like Three Stooges marathon shit or something. It was crazy. And that's what became Supper Club,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
I like the Supper Club setup. You ever play there?
I've been there. I was there once, like the first day they opened.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like the seating and how it's goes downward into the stage area, and that's
and that's what, when it was the theater, above where the bands would play was where they had the screen, so they had seating there, where they would have like, it was like kind of small little tables in between each 2 seat, like normal kind of movie theater seats, and then along the top there was like tables where you could sit and you could still have a good line of sight of like the movies, and it's pretty cool. Then they moved to the Rocket Theater, that is now was the Establishment Theater where Comedy Sports was at, but now I think it's the Center for Living Arts or something moved into there. I think they do like ballet and some other stuff.
nice.
So, but that's like kind of right in Rock Island, right by the Pancake House. Like around, it's the place that has the big marquee that lights up and stuff. But that building's really dope too. So
there is like a small. Was it like it used to be a movie theater down in East Moline?
Yeah, down in East Moline was the old, like, it was like a porno theater.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was.
And then like
Oh,
the
wow.
last person that owned it, he like sectioned it off. There's like smaller viewing rooms.
Wow.
Instead of one big thing.
We had talked about
Let's go open it up, boys.
opening it up, but
go do
you
it.
said it's like almost condemned on the inside or
I
something
mean,
like that.
it looks nice on the outside, to be honest.
I like that idea, having
the inside
a theater of sorts that doesn't show just like new release movies and it shows classics or like indie
Independent shit,
films.
yeah.
And there's a lot of people around here that fuck with and make that kind of stuff. That'd be cool to have like a venue for them to showcase their stuff
Most definitely.
locally,
They've been doing, there's a small theater inside the Figgy that they've been doing this series you guys check out. They've been doing it less and less recently, but it's Cinema at the Figgy.
Okay.
But it's ran by Josh Ford Photography.
Okay.
Josh Ford, he's a local guy. He's a Moline dude too, but he does photography and videography, and he's worked with like some bigger bands, he gets jobs where he travels all over the world basically doing like photography and video stuff, but he was sponsoring this series at the Figgy where they would do show sort of some short films, and then they would do like a live music performance that would score some type of video, and then they would do a feature movie.
Okay.
You know, so they've done like documentaries and also just other feature films. But, you know, I think they're going to continue to do it. I think Josh is just so busy that maybe that's why they don't do it all the time. But it's really cool. The little theater they have there is really cool. It's like nice seats, and it sounds really great. And it's small, but it's pretty cool. And, you know, the thing about there is a possibility to have something like that around here, because the technology has gotten to the point where you can somewhat afford like a digital projector and set up kind of like a small scale indie theater somewhere, you know, so you're not necessarily dependent on like moving into some former theater,
right,
because a lot of those, like there's one in downtown Moline that used to be a theater that's like right on 4th Avenue. Like,
yep, it's like surrounded by these other buildings.
Like 3rd or 4th Street down in the Floricienta neighborhood. Like, and it was a theater back in like the 50s, or maybe even before then. But
wow, you
know, and it's cool. It's really easy to drive by and not see it, but it has a similar kind of, you know, where the marquee comes.
Yeah.
And you know, but I'm sure that building's probably similar. It's probably just like so old.
Right.
And
I don't know if that one's used or if anyone just uses it.
No, it's been vacant
else
for years and years.
Yeah.
So I think it's another one of those things where it's just, you know, you'd have to pour so much money into just getting the building up to code, you know.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what the Bruin View building that ended up being the supper club. I think they built in a lot of that stuff to kind of custom make it sort of a theater. I think it was just kind of an open.
Yeah, because it's like built into the basement, basically.
I think so that might, you know, interesting the way they put that all together, and it was definitely a cool spot for a while.
Hell yeah.
With Centaur Noir, do you have any visuals to the music? Like, I guess you could call them music videos, but, you know.
I've done a lot of gigs at Roztalks, you know, and they have the video projector there.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of, usually when I play there, I have, like a video that goes right along with the music.
That's cool, yeah.
You know, so I'll do like, so there'll be like kind of a big me singing behind me, you know, or whatever. Or when in the past, when I had like backup dancers, or when Laura was in the band, like they'd be in the videos too. So
nice.
And I've done, you know, like I've used some projectors here and there for other stuff. But yeah, that's something that I've done with Centaur Noir, and also some of the other projects I've done where, yeah, it's a cool element to add to, like, you know, maybe you're not a full band, but it's like, hey, here's some other visuals, like to sort of, you know.
Well, I guess, I mean, what I meant was, like, I guess you could call it a music video. Have you ever put anything like out on YouTube with?
Yeah, I have. I was telling Cody a little bit about it before this, but I have a YouTube channel and I make music videos and stuff. I do. So there, you know, there's a bunch of Centaur. There's like probably too many Centaur Noir music videos out there.
Okay,
that's good. That's good.
You know, like for one album, I made like a video for every song.
Oh, that's awesome.
I would like to do that, like for our stuff too, just for fun. Like it's
apparently I need to do a little more research before I co-host.
That's fine. We're all learning here.
It's awesome though. Yeah,
traveling and this journey of life. You know, but yeah. So I started. You know, I started making Centaur Noir music videos, and then people were like, hey, you should make a music video for my band. And then I started doing that, and then, you know, it led to like a bunch of different people that I've done videos for. And I'm not, you know, I don't have very good gear, and I'm not particularly very, well, you know, I wouldn't sell myself short. I don't have good gear.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like a lot of times, you know, the video is all about the concept and like the idea of it and doing something visually cool. So it's, you know, it's you know, in a lot of ways it's like bringing music and art together in a very cool way. You know, it's like, so, you know, I think it's awesome to use, like, to put visuals to music in a way that is cool. You know, so I've done a lot of the music videos I've done. I'll use like I started off using a lot of like public domain video collage kind of stuff. So I like used some weird video I found that was like originally some PSA for, you know.
I always like those kinds of videos. I mean, you see that a lot nowadays with like certain kinds of rap. These days they'll throw in like, well, I guess I see nowadays a lot of like clips of like an anime series or something with some effect over it, so they probably don't get copyrighted or something like that. But
yeah, there's places online that you can find a lot of like public domain video stuff, and you know, so sometimes I would use a lot of that stuff and just like collage, cut and paste and collage different stuff together. You know, maybe sometimes it's like plays off the lyrics, you know, or maybe sometimes it's just something that's visually cool, you know, or, you know, I use a green screen for some of it, so it's like some videos will like I'll have like the band members in front and then put something behind them that's something I found online or created, or you know, it's like, yeah, for a while there music videos were a real big thing, like about 10 years ago or so, you know, where it was like the technology got there where everybody could make their own video, and it was like a big thing, like when there are a lot of music blogs still out there, and like, oh, the video premiere, you know,
right,
or you know, but it seems like it's, and it used to be, making a video used to be a way to get people to actually listen to your music about 10 years ago or so, because everybody was on their computer, you know, or on their phones, starting to be on their phones a lot. And you know, it seems like nowadays you know, not even a video like will help me get somebody to listen to my music. You know, it's just it's so hard these days to like get people interested in like having enough attention span to like sit down and actually watch something. And I think a lot of that too is like, you know, you might watch like a 20-second video of like some stupid viral thing, but like to sit down and watch, you know, a lot of people don't even have the attention span to watch a 3.5 minute music video.
Right.
And I'm guilty of it too, because you're always kind of on the go, and you know, like, you know, so it's, and there, you know, so it is weird to see how technology has sort of changed the way we try and get our music and our art to people, you know, and get them to actually pay attention to it, you know, like
I personally, like, if I hear a song for the first time while watching the music video at the same time, it's like it hits me different. I'm like, oh, this is a fucking sick song. When you know, at another point in time, if I heard the same song without a video, it wouldn't, you know, have the same significant impact. Do you plan on making any visual and music videos for this next project?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know,
nice.
Yeah, definitely make some videos, you know.
Do you release your music physically?
Yeah, I do, you know, mainly CDs, you know, is what I've done. I've done, I did a tape, cassette tape, you know, but yeah, I mean, it'd be awesome to do vinyl, you know, but it's more expensive, you know, so CDs are, you know, kind of easy to do, to get made these days, you know, but even that, it's like, you know, it's hard to sell CDs, you know. I mainly just give them away, you know. My Bandcamp, I just have free downloads because, you know, nobody buys it, you know. But yeah, and that, even that is changing now, because with Spotify and other streaming services, you can, well, now you might as well just not give it away for free and charge, because now I can't even give it away. People won't even download it because you can always just stream it.
Right.
You know, so I'm on Bandcamp, which is, you know, so it's like people don't even, you can download it for free, but people don't download it because you can just, people listen to music on their phones and they can always just stream it from there, you know.
Right.
So
that's kind of a crazy concept.
It's just, well, and that's just, you know, and that's the way technology is now with music. And you know, you'll hear a lot from musicians, like you know, you make money touring, you know, so you make money going out there and playing shows and selling merchandise, maybe on the road, but not as much you can't be dependent on CD sales or, the fraction of a penny you make off of a Spotify play,
Right.
Like I go through this distributor that puts all my music on iTunes and Spotify and stuff, and it's like I have it set up so that they send me a check every $20 I make. So in like 10 years, I think I've gotten like 3 $20 checks. So it's like, but it's funny. One came at like the perfect time where I was just like, it was before I started working the record store, so I didn't have a job for a little while, and I was like, I got a $20 check from my distributor, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna go.
Nice, yeah.
I'm gonna go buy some booze.
Yeah,
or something,
It's not all for nothing.
I'm going to the bar tonight. Daddy's got a social life.
With being so involved in music and art, and do you think you ever, maybe in the future, like pursue other fields? I know you're into cooking and you do film and stuff too a bit. Like, is there anything else like you think you'd want to get into that you haven't ever gotten into?
Well, I would like to get into producing podcasts. Actually, is one thing that I've wanted to do, because as a storyteller and as like kind of I like to archive history and music. So it's like the idea of like interviewing somebody and that's something I've been into, the idea of doing that, I do this band camp called the Quad Cities Music Archive.
Okay.
And so it's quadcitiesmusicarchive.bandcamp.com, but it's just all a collection of bands from, basically the only requirement is that a band or musician, you just have to not be that band or making music as that musician anymore. So it's and it's all free. So I get the okay from different bands and friends of mine. So it's like, there's probably, I don't know how many, over 50 albums up there or something, but it's something that I really need to add a lot more to. But it's music dating back to like late 80s, early 90s, all the way through the
that's rad,
through the 2000s. So it's like
that's
a bunch
awesome.
of old punk.
Like this area too.
Yeah, it's all Quad Cities. So it's all like punk and indie. And
how long have you been running that?
That a couple years, 4 years maybe, something like that. It's been around a while.
That's awesome.
Shit, probably
might have to add a couple
5 years.
Yeah, right.
6 years.
We got some more for you, maybe.
I know. I need to get more people to send me stuff, because there's a lot of bands break up every day.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
Boom, you're on the archive.
Yep.
But so it's because I tried to do something like that before Bandcamp came around, and it was like a blog spot where I would like host the MP3s on this free MP3 hosting website, and then with limited knowledge of HTML kind of build this blog.
Wow.
And it just goes to show how much technology changes the way we try and get music out there, because then Bandcamp came along, and it's such a it's a free site where you can just upload multiple albums. So it just, the platform to do an archive like that came about just in a perfect way to present it, so hopefully Bandcamp sticks around for a while,
Right,
so.
right, definitely. Yeah, they're great. Seems like you probably witnessed a lot of change over the years that you've been doing it, just from the late 90s, early 2000s and stuff, which is...
Yeah, the Trilambs, the master recording of the first Trilambs demo we recorded is on a cassette tape, so it's like, even before it was like, wait, you burn a CD? What?
Right.
Does it with fire?
A laser?
Lasers? Whoa, lasers.
But no, yeah. So the idea would be to do a Quad City Music Archive kind of podcast where I'd interviewed guys from bands,
from the old bands and shit.
Yeah, and then play some of their music, so it'd tie in with the music archive and sort of have them. Because I'm friends with a lot of the guys, so it'd just be like shooting the shit and hanging out and being like,
yeah,
oh yeah, tell me the craziest story,
right,
just stuff like that.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah,
awesome
the
idea,
band trivia, some fun facts.
You writing this down, Cody?
Oh, you guys gonna steal my idea?
You can just do it through the Mob channel. It could be a segment of.
It's kind of already what you guys are doing. It just as far as you guys
almost like current.
Musicians,
yeah, we just basically current, I guess.
And stuff.
Yeah.
And I was about to say, when you mentioned looking into doing something like that, because we were talking about ASMR right before this, as soon as you started talking, was like, man, this guy's got the greatest voice for like
You'd
like
be
it's
good-
really soothing
yeah.
voice, man.
Good hosting voice for sure.
I feel like I'd listen to that shit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Podcasting is super fun. It's been great. So
Yeah, I'm big into podcasts. You know, I got into podcasts like really early on. Like, you know, so I'm into like I said, you know, film and movies and podcasts and, you know, just all, you know, stand-up comedy. I'm a big fan of that sort of. So I sort of ingest it and just like to listen to it all, you know. So yeah, you know, it's like I got into podcasts when they were called radio shows,
Right.
you know, and I remember like me and Talbot would always get mad, like, why is it called a podcast? Do I have to listen to it on an iPod? You know, I mean, that's why they're called podcasts, right? That's what it dates back to, right?
I think it was.
Because they
I
were
think
all
that's
on
correct.
iPod. You
Yeah.
listen to them on your iPods.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
I think
pretty
that's
sure-
what it is. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just
I
say
mean,
that.
I get
Someone
the
in the
cast
comments
part,
can tell us
but-
if we're dumb or not. But,
Yeah, I get the cast part. I never knew that though.
I think it's something like that.
You know, it's
'cause-
2019, and I have bumped into people that are like, "What's a podcast?" I'm like, but then I'm like, how do I
Really?
describe it? I'm like, oh, so I guess it's like a
Yeah.
radio show, internet radio. But then I feel weird saying like, oh, we're on air right now. This is a radio show. It's like we're in my
Yeah.
living room just talking.
Yeah, because, you know, I remember listening to, you know, This American Life and, you know, Prairie Home Companion and different radio shows that were on the public radio station back, you know, before podcasts existed, you know. And yeah, it's just funny, like HBO did a new take on the Adnan Syed serial podcast story. And they were interviewing one of the gals that went to high school there, and she was talking about when the podcast for serial first came out. She was like, yeah, like nobody had ever heard of a podcast before this serial thing came out. And it was just like, no, it was, I mean, you hadn't, but I mean, that's an example of how like that particular podcast definitely threw podcasts into sort of the mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, along with like a lot of like sports radio podcasts, I think, and you know, people, you know, famous people that would started doing podcasts, you know, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, it is definitely still, you know, yeah, and podcasts are definitely, it's another example of art and entertainment and technology and how it's always sort of changing and developing and doing different stuff, you know, like, you know, Day Trotter, that you know, they were around, you know, when that first started coming out, when there was lots of music blogs, and you know, they just recently shut down their operations in Davenport, you know, and
Yeah.
and you know, a lot of that's just because things change, you know, like back when Sean came up with that idea, it was like cutting edge and new and different, and tons of bands would come to do it because that was when like it's like, okay, you come do this special session, you just put this music up for free for people to, it was such a great promotional tool for bands.
Oh yeah.
You know, that like, but you know, nowadays it's, you know, I think streaming services like Spotify and iHeartRadio and stuff like that kind of has, it just goes to show you how, you know, technology, things change so quick nowadays,
Right,
you know,
right.
where Day Trotter was like a website that was like, you know, because then they got into doing live video feeds.
I've seen some of
stuff,
those. Yeah.
you know, as a way to kind of switch up what they were doing to get more eyeballs on their site. And it just, yeah, it's, things change really quick in this new sort of realm of technology and media, you know.
Yeah. Well, they should have done a podcast. Day Trotter podcast.
Well,
now look at them.
I remember back in the day. I mean, some years ago, when Mixtapes was in East Moline, at the storefront. After we got done, I was in a band called Crickerus, and after we got done playing a show, we went back and, do you know Ian Harris, yeah, on Facebook. Yeah, I knew that before until I started seeing the name on Facebook. I was like, is it just hair? He recorded us,
Wait,
and it was for a thing called Night Trotter. And I don't know if that was like a different deal, and if there was like some sort of...
Are you talking about Ian? Like, how is it spelled? Like, is it spelled differently? Ian or
On Facebook.
On
it's
Facebook,
E-
he is Eon Hair.
Eon, yeah.
Isn't that shout out to Dasha? Isn't that her boyfriend?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
yeah, it's Dasha's boyfriend.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
She was
well,
on too, yeah.
what's funny is, him and his older brother Billy and JT, they were kind of part of that Night Trotter thing, which was just sort of a spoof on Day Trotter. It was like originally meant to just be like kind of a fun jabbing at them kind of thing, but then grew to be kind of this contentious thing where like,
Really? It became
where-
contentious?
and-
Wow.
well, and I think a lot of it was just like Sean and Day Trotter, and then like the guys that did Night Trotter were the ones that took all of it the least serious.
Yeah.
You know, it was more people that were like other bystanders that were like, oh,
Right.
did you see what they did?
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
see what
for
they
sure.
posted?" You know,
Right,
like, so a
right.
lot of the drama was just kind of invented.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, that's nothing new. That's like, you know, spoofing art and imitating it, or, you know. But, you know, the irony of that, too, is, I guess it's irony. I mean, yeah, it's irony, is that, you know, Ian ended up working for Day Trotter, you know.
Oh, yeah,
actually. So
yeah,
it's-
that's right.
Ian
yeah.
was the last of a line of, you know, 2 or 3 different audio engineers that worked for them, you know. So
I was about to say, I don't think I've played maybe 2 shows in the last like 5 years where he wasn't the sound guy. Or, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah, he's, you know, because that's how he got his start at mixtapes, you know, and then he did sound at Rostock's for years and years.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, Ian's awesome. I like he recorded. Shout out to Ian, because he recorded like our, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 track EP. He was like, just $15. I think we only got like 10 to him, to be honest. I'm like,
Jesus.
really? We can't even get an extra 5 in here for this?
Well, thank you for that, Ian.
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, Ian rules. He's a unique character in the Quad City scene. I met him first when, because I knew Billy, his older brother. I met him. We played a house show, Meth and Goats, at Billy's parents' house, and so I met Ian when he was like 10 or something, you know.
Oh, wow,
or
yeah.
something. I
Wow.
was like, who is this kid? You know, like he's always been Ian. Like he's a cool dude for sure. He comes in the record store all the time, so I see him all the time.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what's up.
But yeah, him and Dash, I think they're gonna move. Looks like they're moving to Chicago.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I heard. Yep.
Which is cool, you know. He's definitely, you know, she's very talented photographer, and, you know, he's got a hell of a resume for recording bands and stuff. We were just, he was just in the shop the other day. We were talking about, you know, the different ideas he has as far as like getting up there and trying to like get connected to some people,
Nice. yeah.
recording studio people, you know.
That's what's up. Man, what do you think the future looks like for Centaur Noir and Jon Burns yourself? Just art, music, whatever? Or what do you want it to look like?
Yeah, just keep creating stuff, you know. I'm doing the show in August, and then kind of looking forward to just like taking a deep breath, but I probably won't. I'll probably just find some other project to like dig into, you know. So I mean, I had to cut off the Portraits for Choice submissions, but I think I'm going to pick them back up in September, so I'll probably do some more of those, you know, and you know, probably after this art show in August, I'm going to dig into starting to record and work on the new lineup for Centaur Noir. So practicing with the new singers and recording stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to invest in some, because I kind of want to have my own little setup to record vocals into and just sort of be able to sit there and pour over it. So, you know, that, and I don't know. It's always something. You know?
Do you ever hope to like quit your day job to do it, or?
That's probably not realistic. You know, it would be nice. You know, I was unemployed for a little while where I was able to do a lot of art for that little amount of time, which was nice, because then because it is hard, you know, you work a full-time job, even if, you know, I just work at the record store, which usually it's not too physically taxing, but, you know, sometimes it is, because records are heavy, you know, and it's like, oh, we got to move all these records from here to here, you know.
Right.
But, you know, just having to work any job for 40 hours a week, you know, after that, it can be hard to find the time and energy to create stuff, you know. But but
It seems like you're very focused. You've been able to be prolific with your work.
Roll going here, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, besides like the labor's part of it, it's still kind of like a creative job in a sense, like we were saying earlier. You could be inspired just by working there and talking to cool people like Ian and shit.
Yeah, oh yeah,
whatever.
definitely. And if a lot of some of the jobs I just designing posters. I've designed a couple different posters in the last couple weeks, and I've got one that I'm designing for this band, Tripmaster Monkey. They were around in the 90s, and they were on like a major label. They were on Sire Records, I think. They put out they were like kind of a big deal, and they just recently got back together to write and record another album, and they recorded at Pat's studio downstairs from the record store, and I just got a message from one of them today about I'm going to design a poster for them, and
Hell yeah.
so a lot of all this is everything's intertwined as far as like design and art and music, and yeah, definitely the more you do it, the more you get out there and meet people. It leads to different stuff, and different commissioned work.
Right.
And stuff,
I was about to say, do you do like commissioned pieces? Like if somebody, hey,
Yeah.
I need an album cover, I like your work, and
Yeah, I've done stuff like that. I've done family portraits, and commissioned all sorts of different commission stuff.
nice, yeah.
The idea of quitting your day job, it's kind of hard because a lot of the art I sell and the commission pieces I do are for a lot of friends that don't have a lot of money, so I don't charge a lot of money.
Right.
Where like other people might charge a lot more. Like sometimes I go to gallery shows around here and see how much other people charge for art, and I'm just like, whoa.
Yes,
Like,
definitely.
geez, I should charge that much. But
yeah.
but I've been at it long enough to where it's like you find this sweet spot maybe of like, because for a while people would, artists will tell you like, oh, well, you have to charge more because otherwise people won't think it's worth anything.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's a crock of shit, because like, I just feel like that leads to people just like charging way too much for their art, and then they probably don't end up selling any of it anyway.
Right.
So
Yeah.
my whole thing is like, I try to charge the least amount as possible, and then at the last minute I decide I'm going to charge even less than that.
Right. Yeah.
Practically giving it away.
Right.
Or you
Same with
try
the
it-
music, with the art. It's like,
Nice.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can try a Spectrum. You got some cheap shit, and then some high dollar. You're gonna have to drop $1,000 on this portrait or something.
and then I donate half of it to charity.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Do you-
like,
Do you ever think about, or did you ever think about, have you ever thought about like an online store of some sort for your artwork, or do you think that would take away from like showings and
there are some. I should look into more stuff like that, because there are some places that they'll like sell prints of your art and take a cut. And I've heard some of them are pretty. You can make some money off of them, and it's sort of a decent deal, like. But yeah, it's kind of. If I were ever to do that, I'd probably do it through some type of a distributor.
Oh, would you? Okay.
As
I gotcha.
opposed to, like I have a website and I have kind of a web store, but it's like, it's hard to get anybody outside of who
Traffic
you know
through
to
there.
like really pay attention to stuff.
I got you.
But
Yeah. That's awesome though. So
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for being here. It's been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, thanks.
So yeah,
It's actually-
let them know again. We got the art show coming up here on the second.
the second.
The second.
Friday, August 2nd from 6 to 9 at DeSoto Studio. I have prints, original pieces for sale. There'll be snacks and drinks. It's free to the public, all ages. It's at DeSoto Gallery, 2324 3rd Avenue. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm there for sure.
Shout out some of your links. You got
We'll
your
be there.
website and all the social shit.
Yeah, artofjonburns.com, centaurnoir.bandcamp.com. I'm on YouTube, youtube.com/Jon Burns video or Johnny B videos. I can't remember what it is. So I think if you search YouTube Jon Burns video, it'll come up. But yeah, check out Quad City Music Archive.
Oh yes.
.bandcamp.com.
Definitely.
Tons of artists on there.
Yeah, if you've broken up recently, submit your shit.
Yes,
You got
yes.
Instagram or
Oh yeah, I'm on Instagram, Centaur Noir on Instagram.
Awesome.
Twitter,
Twitter?
Centaur Noir.
all that shit?
Yep.
Hell
That's
yeah.
a good thing about also choosing a unique band name.
Exactly.
You have to-
That's a problem. It's like sometimes people, every social link is different. It's like,
I like how it's like Donald Trump, his Twitter handle is the real Donald Trump, and it's like the joke is like, this guy claims to be such a great deal maker. He couldn't even negotiate getting his own
Just a
Twitter
name.
handle.
Yeah,
right.
You know,
Yeah,
like-
definitely. Jesus Christ.
I seen the bagel. I don't know if you've seen the Bagel Boss guy
Oh yeah.
video. There's this guy freaking out in a bagel shop. I don't know if he's a genius or not, but he's got a bunch of social media, sites now. The real Bagel Boss and stuff.
I think he's just trying to get laid or something.
Well,
at this point.
Constantly, but he's never going to with that attitude. So.
If bagels can't get you lucky, you
Exactly.
must be doing something wrong.
I'm talking everything bagel.
Jesus. Goddamn incels.
Bagels and everything bagel and some cream cheese.
Yeah.
Hell
Thanks
yeah.
for being on, John.
Yeah. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
having
anything else? I think we covered a lot, but
At least so.
I think we got it all. Hell yeah.
That's it.
That's it. All right,
Good boys.
we're done. Get out of here. All right.
Good day.
Thank you, sir.
Dismissed.
Peace out. Dismissed.